Okay, so throughout history, cults and leaders of cults, or people with cult-like mentality, Hitlers of the worlds, they have not been remembered very well in the most glowing of terms. So I want to look and see how will MAGA, not Donald Trump, but his followers, how will they be remembered? Because you have some that are awakening to his nonsense and his lies and his schemes and his this and his that. I should have some sort of compassion, I suppose. I don't, but I should. Because okay, they woke up. But you can blame the educational system and say it has given us a population that has no discernment, no deductive reasoning. Because he's obviously a con man, everybody else can see it. How come you can't see it? That type of thing. But where everybody who is a supporter of Donald Trump is not an idiot, per se. You know, just like every Democrat's not a rogue scholar. So it, but why can't you see it? It's different when you can go to the school and get the facts and then pass the test, because that's all our intelligence is based on anyway, is memorizing things and regurgitating it on a test. Meanwhile, some people who have all the book smarts in the world have no common sense, or they can't, work their way out of a wet paper bag type of thing. But they got it up here. They know 1 + 1 type of thing, but they can't figure out what to do in a different kind of situation. So you think to yourself, how can this educated person follow this idiot off the cliff? Because then there's the feelings. People don't always vote with facts. Sometimes they vote with feelings. This person made a really great speech. I think they're awesome. I'm going to vote for them based on a speech, not their policies, not what they've done in the past. A speech. The rah-rah. You made me feel. How will they be remembered? Moving on. The fool. There he is. Will you follow him off the cliff forever? At some point, you have to say, and some of them are, but this is wrong. He's going the wrong way. And it's like that joke Bill Maher said on his show, which he's another one. But anyway, he said on his show that Donald Trump, instead of being corrected, could come down the steps with his fly open, and then everyone in the room would just open their fly instead of telling him your fly is open. Let him feel like the normal one instead of the one that needs to be corrected. And so you follow him off the cliff. Judgment. The fool and judgment. Judgment is a resurrection. We've been here before, which is how you know to even call them a cult. And you know how those things usually end. Probably not even usually, kind of always. A bunch of people die for whatever reason. And it's happened when he's convinced his people to eat dirt and drink pee. strength, that strong, headstrong, strong will. The moon. Half of the problem, too, that a lot of us are having with the MAGAs is it seems like nothing you say convinces them. Easier to fool a person than convince a person they're being fooled is where they are. The moon is an illusion in the tarot. It casts the illusion. What you see is not what is. It's what you think. It's what you feel. It's what your mind is creating the machination. The positive side to the moon is follow your intuition, because your intuition is never wrong. I don't care what situation you're in or how it even worked out for somebody else. The moon is telling you that what you see is not what is. But it is so hard for them because they have branded everyone else the other. Because of him, but they branded everyone else the other. And so since you're the other, you have to be the opposition. You're not going to come in and tell me the truth. You're going to come in and try to shame me because I follow this great man. And so it is difficult for them to understand that yellow snow is not lemonade. The wheel of fortune, time. Time repeats, okay? That's first of all. The casts change, but time repeats. We've been here before. That's what the judgment told us. These are also the two cards of karma, because what goes around comes around with the wheel of fortune, and then this is a card of resurrection. What you put in the ground comes back out the ground. And so it's in a different form then. With the wheel of fortune, though, is a card of lessons. Not theirs, believe it or not, in this reading, but for everyone who is looking at them. Here's why it's a problem, because here we are again. We've had past lessons of cults and cult-like mentality, sometimes to their benefit or to their slight benefit of the doubt. When you first get into the cult, you do not realize that you're in a cult. What that person is saying appeals to you. And then it draws you in. Then it draws your time, your money, your energy. And then you become fixated. So it's not always this blaring sign at the door saying you're now entering a cult. It's a little different than that. But this is the lesson we're supposed to be learning here on the outside of the MAGA cult, that these people are following this man who does them harm and tells them to do harm to themselves, eating arsenic dirt. Giving me money you cannot afford. I'm the billionaire, but I'm telling you, give me donations. Meanwhile, I give you donations and then you cut my food stamps and my Medicare and my Medicaid. Gotcha. Okay. But we're supposed to look at them and say, this is what you don't do. That way, even on the left, you don't do it to your own side, to where you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see that this person is doing you no good, even though they have a little D around their name. Oh, that's a Democrat. He's going to be great. She's going to be great. Okay. The Two of Pentacles. That's a pretty good sign. The Two of Pentacles is balancing this and that. Something you have versus something you will gain, that type of thing. So maybe they will start to see towards the end or come to some sort of revelation that, oh, that was wrong. The woman who was pardoned, who turned down her pardon from Donald Trump, was awakened. I find it hard to unleash sympathy because he's been president before and you've seen he was a horrible person and then he made you go to a riot and you participated in that riot and then you got arrested for the riot and then you get pardoned for the riot. Like, it's like at some point during the riot, did you not say, oh, you know what, we shouldn't be in here, this is kind of wrong? Lessons. Wheel of Fortune. We're at the hard part of the lessons. It gets easier, then it gets hard again, then it gets easier, and then you repeat, and then you die. The Eight of something. What is this? Yeah. The Eight of Swords. So the Eight of Swords is how they will be remembered, I'm pretty sure. That's the card of a mental cage. It is not a mental cage of Donald Trump's making. It is a mental cage of your own doing. It is easy to blame the monster instead of figuring out why you fear it in the first place. The monster exists. It does not have to exist in your life, in your head, in your memories, your thoughts, your emotions. Personal responsibility with the Eight of Swords. Show and tell. It is easy to blame the monster. Now, yes, he made it easy to be a horrible person. But you have the propensity to be one. He just gave you permission. They are not chained to the monster. They are chained to the podium the monster sits upon. Donald Trump can die in the next 8 seconds. No, they may not be as organized or they may not call themselves MAGA, but that individual person is still a bad person. Still does bad things, I'll say it that way. Anybody can change. That they still do bad things because in their mind is where they are trapped. The Eight of Swords is a mental cage of your own making. You have the power to release yourself. Well, I think that sounds about right, if I do say so. That they are people who do not know how to break free from their own fear. That's the nice version. The bad version is they're horrible people and idiots and they're all going to die, but we'll see.